Give folks a few minutes to get connected here. Welcome, everyone. We're just going to give folks a few minutes to join and get settled. All right, well, let's go ahead and get going. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so glad you're here, and I'm excited for today because this is the first of our new monthly cooking classes here at Blue Circle Health. We really hope that you enjoy them, and we look forward to learning more about nutrition and preparation and eating well, which is such a big part of our lives with diabetes. Let's do some quick introductions here. The pictures on the screen here. There we go. So do some quick introductions here, and then we'll do some housekeeping, and then we will get started. Rita, if you could please introduce yourself for us.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I'm just so excited to start these cooking classes. And Scott says this is our first one. So welcome. And a little bit about me. I'm a registered dietitian and diabetes educator. I work here at Blue Circle Health. And I've been working with people with type 1 diabetes for about 28 years now, and have taught tons of cooking classes. Done cooking demos in every possible imaginable space. I had a nutrition, healthy cooking video show for a while, for about 8 years, in a hospital that I worked for in Northern Arizona. And then prior to that, in a previous life, I was a personal chef and I had a little restaurant of my own. So I've been cooking for people, talking about food, talking about cooking, teaching cooking for a really long time. And it's something that I just absolutely love to do. And I'm just so grateful to be able to share that with you here tonight.
Thank you, Rita. And we are so grateful for you and your experience and expertise that you're willing to share it with us. My name is Scott Johnson. I'm a senior manager of community here at Blue Circle Health. I've lived with type 1 diabetes for about 44 years, and I just really appreciate you allowing me the honor and privilege of hosting today. Now, in terms of an agenda, slow down, there we go. In terms of an agenda, we've got 2 delicious breakfast recipes that Rita will guide us through. Today, we're preparing easy, high-protein overnight oats and savory spinach potato egg bites. I'll send both of these in the chat in just a moment, and then I'll also send them out in an email along with today's recording. Before we get going too far, I need to cover some quick housekeeping items. We welcome and encourage you to use the chat feature along the way. It's a great way to share with the group, and I'll keep an eye on it throughout the session if you need anything. We'll have plenty of time for questions as Rita takes us through today's recipes. If you have questions or want to share, just let us know in the chat. You can also use the raise hand feature if you can find that, depending on how you joined. A few quick reminders. So this session is being recorded. Participation in the event is completely voluntary, and you can choose to leave at any time. Participation may reveal your identity and any identifying information that you share with other group participants. For example, comments in the chat and during discussions. And then finally, we are not providing any medical advice, individual or otherwise, and may refer you back to your healthcare team for detailed and individualized answers. All right, I know that's a lot. Thank you for your patience with me there. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then I'm going to bring Rita's cameras front and center. And with that, Rita, it is all over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. And it's somebody's 27th anniversary. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you for spending it here with us. That's amazing. Good for you. Just wanted to say a few words. I know with T1D, we focus so much on numbers all the time, right? We talk about, well, what's your blood sugar? How many carbs are you eating? How much insulin should you take? When should you take it? And I think in that conversation, we just lose focus so often on the importance of getting pleasure from your meals and your food and being able to eat and feel nourished and satisfied and well taken care of. So that is, excuse me, one of my hopes for these classes is that I can share recipes and ideas, tips and tricks, some cooking skills, and you can share with us too, things that will help making living with T1D easier and eating with T1D much more pleasurable. So that's my goal, and I'm so excited to start off tonight in that direction. So, as Scott was saying, we're gonna make two. Thought it'd be a really good idea to start with breakfast, and so we got two recipes. Both are pretty simple and quick to make, and we're gonna start with the egg bites because I've got to stick those in the oven. They take about 18 minutes to cook, but only about, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes to prepare. And they're just little omelets or souffles that are in a muffin tin. And if you've ever gone to Starbucks to see the egg bites there, this is what they are. And except for these are much more affordable. I think I calculated they're like $1.25 for two, and I think at Starbucks they're somewhere north of $5. Um, so we're going to start with, I'm just going to saute some potatoes. And so these ingredients in this recipe are really basic. So think about my recipes as being really just a template. And you can make substitutions. We'll talk about substitutions and make them your own. And this is just the basic recipe. So what we've got is potatoes, spinach, cottage cheese, eggs, salt and pepper, and I think that's it. So we're going to start with just cutting up a potato and little cooking skills here. I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me, how comfortable are you with using a knife in the kitchen? Because I think this is one of the most important things to know how to use, because I think if we feel comfortable using a knife and chopping things up, it really makes cooking that much more pleasurable. So if you want to throw in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you using a knife? And it doesn't have to be a big one like this. Give me a small one. So I'm just going to chop this potato. And one of the basic rules of, I think, cutting up things is start with a flat surface. So if I want to cut this potato, it's a little rocky and round. So I'm going to make it flat. So I'm just going to take a slice off of it like that. And I'm going to do a small dice. So that's basically just meaning I'm going to cut this into small squares. And so I'm just going to cut this into some slabs and then take a few of them, turn them on their side, cut them into matchsticks, and then into little squares. So the way that I'm chopping this, I'm trying to protect my fingers, because believe me, I have done this before, where I've taken off a slice. So a good way to hold a knife is like you're shaking hands with it. Just kind of take a nice grip like this. Some people you'll see put your finger on here, but that actually makes it a little wobbly. So just kind of have a good grip on your knife. And when you're cutting things, I like to make a claw with my other hand. So I'm not going to cut with my fingers like this, which I could like do a little damage. I'm going to cut with my fingers, my fingertips pointing downward, and that just protects them. So I'm not going to hopefully draw any blood here tonight. So, how are we doing here with the 10? We've got a 9, we got a 7. Very good. We've got some experienced cooks in the crowd. That's awesome. Question, cooked potato or raw? So I'm going to cook this potato. So this is raw. I'm just chopping it up and we're going to saute it with just a little bit of olive oil, some salt and pepper. And you can use any kind of potato in this dish. I just happen to get a red potato. I really like them. But there's not much in it. So any kind, a russet potato, red potato, a Yukon Gold, a yellow potato, any color potato that you like. I wouldn't necessarily use a sweet potato because that kind of changes up the flavor. But any kind of potato. There's not a lot of carbohydrate in the egg bites. I think there's 7 grams or something like that. I have to check. I have a cheat sheet here. Yeah, 7 grams of carbs in 2 egg bites. So it's not a high carb thing. And but I really like having a little bit of carbohydrate in the egg bites. I think it helps to feel a little bit more satisfied with the meal, have a little more staying power. I've also used like some leftover cooked grains in these. Like I might have some rice, some brown rice, some wild rice, some quinoa. I'll put that into the mix as well. And that works just fine instead of the potatoes. And so I'm just going to throw these in here. And I have to share something with you I learned about potatoes. If you eat a larger amount of potato, you might find that the effect on your blood sugar might be it might differ for the type of potato that you eat. I'm wondering if anybody has noticed that types of potatoes might affect you differently. But I did learn from a potato farmer once why that might be. And I'm just trying to change my chat here so I can see you guys. There you are. Okay. Yeah, so what I've noticed over the years is that a russet potato or a baked potato seems to bump blood sugars up a little faster, maybe a little higher. I don't know. Has anybody noticed that that the type of potato might affect you in some different ways? And then I'll tell you why I think that is. So I'm just sprinkling a little salt. Yes, yes.
I noticed that sweet potatoes are tended to have a slower and maybe more gentle rise for me. But I'm so curious about learning more about what you learned about the potato.
Right. Yeah, I think most people have that experience, Scott. Yeah, that a sweet potato is it's got a lot of fiber in it, a lot more fiber than a white yellow potato. And the fiber, I think, tends to slow how fast the carbohydrate is turned to glucose, and then that lets the glucose rise a little bit more slowly. But yeah, so somebody says, yes, I've experienced that about the baked potato. So this is what I learned. This is very coming from the mouth of a potato farmer. He said that russet potatoes are hybridized and raised to have a higher sugar content versus starch. So they all have about the same amount of carbs, but a russet potato has a little more a carbohydrate in a sugar form than starch. And the reason is that most russet potatoes are used to make French fries. And if the potato has a little more sugar in it, they brown better. So I don't know if that's a useful tidbit or not, but something interesting about potatoes. But, you may not notice any difference at all. What are you guys saying? Definitely prefer sweet over yellow or white. Yeah, yeah. So I'm going to put spinach in this, and this recipe you can use any kind of green. Spinach is really easy, and I made the recipe so that it uses 1 box of fresh spinach, 5 ounces. So this is about 4 cups of spinach, kind of packed in pretty solid. So if you're not using baby spinach, you're just using a bunch of spinach. It's about 4 cups packed. And the baby spinach is just easy to use. I like to rinse it, even though it says it's pre-washed. I usually rinse it pretty well before I use it. And then I use one of my favorite tools. I use a salad spinner. And how many of you guys have a salad spinner? It's a wonderful tool. You can also just use a colander and just shake out the extra moisture. You just don't want the spinach to be really soggy wet when you put it in the pan. So I just spin this little guy till I think I already spun it. I'm gonna spin it a little bit more. We just don't want the lettuce to be, the spinach to be soggy. Give me a sec here. So a little bit of moisture is fine, but not soggy. And it's, you know, salad spinner can be a great tool in the kitchen. Um, One of the, somebody loves, you love the salad spinner. Yes. Yeah, I use it all the time, especially, you know, for lettuce, because I tend not to, I don't like to buy the pre-mixed bags of lettuce because I find that they go bad really easily and they're often more expensive than just a head of lettuce. And one of the tricks I love is I get the head of lettuce home, I rinse it really well, and I put it in the salad spinner and I spin it till it's pretty dry, almost dry. And then I can just store it in the fridge in my salad spinner. So it's all ready to go. Easy to make a salad on the run. Or you can stick it in a plastic bag with a little paper towel. And that really helps to preserve the lettuce and keep it from getting soggy and brown and yucky. So you'll find that if you buy salad and you find that it goes bad too fast, try that. You know, just buy a head of lettuce, rinse it off. And if you don't have a salad spinner, that's okay too. Another way to do it is just put the lettuce on a towel and roll it up and gently pat it, and then put it in like a plastic produce bag with a paper towel. And that'll help keep your lettuce in good shape for longer than that pre-made bag. So I've got my taters are cooking here, and I'm just going to cook them until they're browned. And then I'll add the spinach. So I'm going to give those a minute and pull over a blender and do the next step in the recipe while the potatoes are cooking. And that is, we're just going to blend eggs and cottage cheese together. So this recipe calls for 6 eggs and 3/4 cups of cottage cheese. And you can use cottage cheese in this recipe, or you can use a combination of other things. Like say you don't have cottage cheese, you could use milk. Milk is fine. I would maybe use a 1/4 cup of milk. And then if you have some grated cheese, any kind that you like, Colby Jack or cheddar or whatever, Parmesan, and you want to use about a 1/2 cup of cheese, that works just fine. If you go dairy free, you don't eat dairy products, you could do a plant-based milk, like almond milk, maybe about a 1/2 cup of that, and just skip the cheese part, or you could do a vegan cheese. There are those out there as well. I think I got all my eggs. Yes. So lots of variations here. And this recipe, like I said, is really basic. It's just a template. And so you might find like you want a little bit more flavor in here. So you could add maybe a flavorful cheese, like a couple tablespoons of Parmesan or something to spike up the flavor. It's quite flavorful, but if you wanted a little something extra, you could do that. So give me a sec. I'm just going to blend this up. Going to be a little noise.
And Rita, we've got a couple of good questions
Yeah.
in the chat. One is,
Fire away.
if you've ever experienced or heard of anyone experiencing leafy greens causing trouble with like acid buildup or acid discomfort. And then another question is if you have ever used like a plant-based egg replacement.
Good questions. So yeah, so if you notice that eating a lot of leafy greens is causing some digestive upset or GERD, I would say that would be definitely something to talk to somebody to get like kind of a bigger picture of what might be going on. Certainly raw greens can do that for sure. I wonder if you experience that with cooked greens as well. Raw greens take a little bit more digestive power. Or is it also in combination maybe with some other foods that might be causing that that acid reflux? So things like tomatoes are pretty classic. Caffeine, high fat meals sometimes will do it? That's a really great question. You know, I think we're also individuals that we can react to things in very different ways. So if that's something that you've got a question for, I would say bring it to us here at Blue Circle, either myself or Sherry, our other lovely dietitian here, and we could maybe take a little closer look. And then egg replacement before. I've not used that in this recipe. But that would be a fun thing to experiment with. Definitely. You could use liquid eggs in here, like the egg beater thing, I think. I'm pretty sure you could. But you just have to adjust the recipe, but I haven't made it with those either. So I have to play with that one. Yeah. So onions, tomatoes, butter, garlic, red sauce, and leafy greens. Okay, those are the things that bother you. Yep, yep. Like I said, everybody's different. So, but yeah, I definitely could bring that to us as well if we wanted to look a little bit more into that. I've got my potatoes are nice and brown. I'm just gonna put this back here for a sec. And I'm just gonna toss my spinach in here. And you know, if you want to make these egg bites and you leave the leafy greens out, do that. So you could use any other kind of veggies in here. I think overall you want to shoot for about a cup and a quarter of total cooked vegetables in the recipe. Sorry, this is gonna make a noise. A sec here. Is that too loud? Scott?
No, at least it wasn't for me. I think that
No?
Zoom these days does a pretty good job of kind of filtering out that noise. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, you guys you can hear it. Okay, okay, good.
yeah.
I was gonna put a cover on it and let that steam for just a sec. So yeah, so you can leave the greens out. So you could play with different vegetables. But think about 1 1/4 cups cooked vegetables is about what you're looking for with this recipe. So it could be broccoli, it could be asparagus, it could be bell peppers, really just about anything. That sounds good. So if you wanted to put a little sausage in it, you could use some of those veggies and replace it with some sausage. So yeah, lots of different mushrooms and gray ear. How do you say that? I never know how to say that kind of cheese. But I just call it Swiss cheese. But yeah, that would be a great combo. Definitely. All right, I'm just using some tongs to toss this spinach around a little bit. And let me show you what these are going to look like. I will show you, we'll bake them, they'll be done in time before our class is done, but I want to show you, I always bake stuff ahead of time because you never know in a cooking class what's going to happen. So I always want to make sure I have some prepared. I was teaching a class once and talking away, and I had the stove behind me, and one of the participants raised their hand. They're like, I think something's burning. And all this smoke coming up behind me. So all sorts of things can happen. But anyway, so these are the egg bites. They're beautiful, I think. There you go. Nice close-up view there. I made these with kale. So I had a bunch of kale that I got from local farmers market. So I thought I would use that up. The kale, you need to cook a little bit longer than the spinach, because it's just a tougher green. So yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? Have you guys had these before? Either made them yourself or gotten them out at a restaurant or at Starbucks? I know I've gotten them at Starbucks plenty of times because they can sometimes be a really quick, easy meal. Another cool thing about this is if you make them at home, stick them in the fridge, they'll last, well, a week probably, though I usually go through them faster than that. And they also freeze really well. We've had Starbucks versions, and Costco has good ones too. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so you make a bunch and then you can just freeze them. So these are ready to go in my little muffin tin. So I'm just going to take a little bit of oil and put that, just grease the tin a little bit. This is a nonstick, just a nonstick muffin tin, but I always like to put a little oil in as well, or you could do butter if you like. And then really super easy. I'm just gonna take the veggies and just try to divide them somewhat equally among all those little muffin cups there. And then you just pour the eggs on top and bake them. That's it. Takes about, like I said, about 18 minutes. In my oven anyway, they almost always take exactly 18 minutes. But you know, you might want to keep an eye on them if you've never made them before, because every oven's slightly different and not always accurate. And this is at 350 degrees. So what are you guys saying? I add a dollop of plain Greek yogurt on top and a drizzle of truffle oil. Wow. Wow, that sounds amazing. That's starting the day off, right? Very good. Okay, so that looks good enough, I think. And make room here for the hot pan. And then you just pour in the egg mixture and you fill it about 3/4 of the way full. Just so that you have enough to go around. I find this recipe is like super exact. And if you fill one a little bit more, you don't have enough, you can always scoop it out and move it around. So yeah, that's it. And I find, you know, with breakfast, and tell me what you guys have experienced. For myself, I feel better, like I have better energy and there's more staying power to my breakfast. Like I don't get hungry right away. If I have a breakfast that has a little more protein, rather than you know, just a high carb breakfast like cereal or something like that. And because in the morning, our metabolisms they're a little slow, and to get them going, uh, it helps to have a little protein and maybe not such a big onslaught of carbohydrate. So what are your thoughts? I agree. Yeah, yeah. And then with blood sugars, of course, if you've got you know, a little bit of some carbohydrate and you've got some protein in there and some fiber, it really helps to moderate what the blood sugars do after the meal. So it's not just a big rush of carbohydrates all of a sudden. See, where do you? Yes, I try to eat nuts and cheese in the morning. Awesome breakfast. Just gonna stick this in the oven. And set my timer. So I will forget. So those are egg bites. Super easy, right? So let's start with the overnight oats. So my recipe is a little different maybe than some other recipes, and it doesn't have as many oats in it. It's got a little more fiber, a little more protein, but it still turns out amazing. It's sort of like a parfait, almost like a pudding consistency. How many of you have tried overnight oats, and what are your thoughts about those, or any variation of overnight oats? I'm just kind of curious there. And this recipe again is have variations, like whatever really works for you. So again, this is just a template. Let's see what you guys, mine have not turned out so well as I want them to taste. Got to play with that recipe, huh? Always wanted to, but I was afraid it would be too high carb. I love them. My son tried it, but it didn't come out the best. Are oats protein or carbs? Love them, very high carb. Wonderful, wonderful comments and questions. Yes, so oats are more carbohydrate. They do have a little protein like all grains do, but it's a starchy food. So so there are some carbs. And these are rolled oats, just basic, any kind. Quaker is fine. There's only 2 tablespoons in this recipe. So a lot of recipes have a little bit more oats. And so we've got oats here. We've got some sort of nuts. These are walnuts, but you could use sunflower seeds. You could use peanuts. So I know nuts and seeds can tend to be a little bit more expensive sometimes. Peanuts are usually less costly, sunflower seeds. Look for sales and stuff. But I've got some nuts, about 1/4 cup of nuts, any kind, or seeds. Pumpkin seeds are awesome in here too. We've got some berries or any kind of fruit. So these are just frozen blueberries. I find those are easy to buy because they don't go bad. And one way to save money is not to lose food, right? Stuff goes bad and you lost that money. So frozen stuff works for, oh, and one thing with those egg bites, you could use frozen spinach. So that works just fine too. I've got some cinnamon and some chia seeds. I'm going to talk about chia seeds in a minute and some options about that. And then yogurt. So we're going to start with a jar, and you can use any jar you would like. So I have this jar. I've also made it in an old peanut butter jar, a mason jar, a Tupperware, whatever you have. It doesn't have to be fancy here. So I've got, this is just a jar, like a Tupperware jar, but a glass. And so I'm gonna start with a cup, 2 tablespoons of oats. And the oats, if you just eat straight oatmeal, I'm wondering what your experience is with that. You tend to go high with oats. Yeah. So very often with just plain old oats, it's perfectly healthy. It's a lovely food. With type 1, it can be a little tricky because the oats are it's just straight carbs. There's some fiber, not a lot. And the oats digest pretty quickly. We take the grain, we cook it a little, and then we squish it to make the rolled oats. And that makes the starch very much easier to digest and break down into glucose. So just straight oatmeal, I think in general can spike up the blood sugars a little bit faster. But if you're adding, I use protein in mine. So if you add protein and more fiber to the oats, even if you just have an oatmeal, maybe you throw in some oat bran, some extra oat fiber, or have it with an egg, or put in some high protein protein powder or soy milk or Greek yogurt, anything that adds a little bit of protein sometimes can help smooth it out a little bit. Like adding PB, I love adding PB to my protein. Yes, this is an awesome brand that I don't know if you guys have it where you are. It's Teddy. It's perfect for adding to oatmeal because it's not too thick. It's a little runny. So yeah, PB is perfect. Thank you for mentioning that. So I've got my oats, and I'm just gonna layer stuff in here. So I'm gonna chop up some nuts. Walnuts I love, but like I said, any kind of nuts or seeds for you. And with the nuts, we're adding some protein. We're adding some fiber, some really important nutrients like B vitamins and magnesium, which are really important for helping your body to metabolize glucose. Helps with blood sugar control. So super, super nutritious. And it doesn't matter how you add these things, any order that you want. You can even mix it all up together. So I'm gonna throw my oats in, my walnuts in, and then some blueberries. And like I said, it could be any kind of fruit. Apples work really well with this combo, as do pears. With this with the cinnamon, I'm gonna put some cinnamon here too. You still cut oats and still have hit or miss BG levels. Yeah. After trying to figure it out, I think the addition of nuts and peanut butter, I think that would work. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Pears in this are awesome. Yeah. Do you guys know, or have you heard about steel cut oats? Do you know the difference between steel cut and rolled oats? Has anybody tried other kinds of oats? Be the question. So I've got that. I'm gonna throw in my yogurt now. And it's a half a cup of plain yogurt, and this is also variable. So you can make this completely plant-based if you'd like by using a plant-based yogurt like soy yogurt or cashew yogurt. The soy doesn't have quite as much, the cashew doesn't have as much protein in it as the soy yogurt does. This is just a regular old plain yogurt, and you can use Greek yogurt. And Greek yogurt has a lot more protein. So plain yogurt has about 9 grams of protein per cup, whereas Greek yogurt, I think, has around 21, somewhere around there. So more than double. And it sometimes is more costly. And I know I've talked to a lot of people who say, I just don't like Greek yogurt. So if you like Greek, definitely throw that in here. It's just, what it is it's more dense yogurt. What they do to make Greek yogurt is they take regular yogurt and then they drain it. You can make it at home. You can put it in a colander lined with some paper towels or a tea towel, and just let it drain in the fridge over a bowl for a day, and you'll have Greek yogurt. So that's all it is. It's just condensed yogurt minus some of the liquid in the milk, some of the whey. But yeah, that would work too. So there's my yogurt. I got my cinnamon in there, my blueberries, and let's talk about chia seed. Or flaxseed. So these are optional additions. Chia and flax are a they're a great way to add fiber without adding a lot of volume to your meals. And they add a lot of protein, and they also add some omega-3 fatty acids, which are they're the same ones that you find in like fatty fish, which are really good for your heart, your brain. The chia seeds I actually like better than the flax seeds. So chia is a complete protein. It's got all the amino acids. It's got a little more fiber, and it's easier to digest. So you can just use whole chia seeds and things, and you can chew it up better, it digests easier. Flax seeds, there's the difference. Can you see those? So these are the chia, and these are the flax. Flax seeds are also nutritious, and they do have a harder seed coat though. So to use flax and get all the nutrition out of them, you'd want to grind them first. I just use a coffee grinder, or you can buy them already ground. But if you want to skip that step and you want to use the chia seeds, they're reasonably priced, really. They cost about, I went to a bulk store here. That's a really good place to look for them, is in a place where you can buy bulk items. And it was about 21 cents an ounce, 21 cents an ounce. So, and an ounce is 2 tablespoons. So we're just throwing 1 tablespoon in here. And this chia adds, it adds, I have to think about the fiber. How much is in chia? It is, sorry, I'm having a brain moment here. 5 grams. That tablespoon of chia adds 5 grams of fiber. So that really will slow down how fast this digests. It helps keep that level of satisfaction after the meal lasting longer. And it can really slow down how fast the carbohydrates turn to sugar. So it can help moderate your blood sugars, give it time for your insulin to get in there and work. And again, it is optional. It just really adds just another layer of nutrition and fiber and some protein as well. So what are you guys talking about here? Love steel cut. Yeah, let's talk about okay, couple questions. So where do you buy chia seeds? Chia seeds are not high in carbohydrate. Nope, not at all. There's more fiber. So there's like I said, in a tablespoon, there's 5 grams of fiber, which is a lot of fiber. And about 2-3 grams protein. Quite low with carbohydrate. I'm getting lost in all the questions.
Go back
Sorry.
to talk a little more about the difference. You asked about steel cut oats
Thank
versus
you.
rolled oats, and yeah,
Thank you for keeping me on track. I told Scott I can just sit here talking. So difference between oats. It's just this little, yeah, differences in processing, which I think I saw somebody commenting there. So steel cut oats is just the grain it's a whole grain that's been basically chopped to make it faster to cook. You can actually buy whole grain oats. You can eat the whole grain oats, but they take a while to cook. So steel cut is the oats cut so that they cook a little longer. They digest a little slowly and they take a little bit longer to chew. So they tend to raise blood sugars a little bit more slowly. And then you go to rolled oats, which is the oats, you cook them, you soften them up, and then they roll them out, they squish them. And that breaks up the seed the grain a little bit more and exposes the starch, so it cooks faster. And those oats might raise your blood sugars a little bit faster just because they digest a little bit faster. Then the next would be probably quick oats, which is rolled oats kind of chopped up. And then from there, it's instant oats. And if you remember opening up an instant oatmeal package, um, you'll notice that those are really small little flakes, right? Almost powdery. So that's probably the most processed oatmeal. And it might be the oatmeal that hits you a little faster. So you might have to like play with your timing of your insulin with that. It's all oats, it's all nutritious. It just might hit you a little bit differently as far as blood sugars. So chia seeds you can buy at Walmart. You can buy them like if you have a store that sells bulk products, like you go in, there's bins and you can scoop stuff out. Chia seeds are very often there. I know in Florida, which a lot of you folks are in Florida, a Publix has chia seeds. So they're pretty common anymore. I've seen them in all sorts of places. Does it help with weight loss? In a roundabout way, it can, because if you're eating foods that are higher in fiber and you're feeling more satisfied with your meals, it can help with just keeping your appetites leveled out. So maybe you don't get so hungry after meals. Maybe you don't need to snack as much. Definitely helps with gut health, digestive health. So there's lots of benefits to it. Have I answered all those questions?
I think that's most of them, if
Great.
not all, Rita. Great.
Okay. Let me show
And
you.
folks, keep the questions coming. We're watching and
Yes,
taking care of.
please do. So these are some overnight oats that I made yesterday. And I'll just stir them up a little bit. So they get like this kind of a thick, like pudding consistency. Everything gets just kind of soft and the chia seeds expand and it's not very sweet. So I'll just say that. So there's no sweetener in here. So you have to play with that. And maybe it's not sweet enough for you. So if you're, adding some honey to it or some sugar, you just want to add up the carbs a little bit. So a teaspoon of sugar is 4 carbs. So you would just add that onto the recipe. If you're adding some sweetener, I think honey is about 5 or 6 per teaspoon. About 4 or 5 for maple syrup. So just adds the sweetener onto your carb count. If you want to add some sweetener, I happen to like it without a lot of sweetener, but you could also add a artificial sweetener if you wanted to, or some stevia or something like that, which wouldn't add any carbohydrate. So you can kind of play with that too. Chia seeds, so can you add them to baked meals or casseroles? Absolutely. So chia has a lot of interesting uses. I often throw them on salads. I throw them in with grains. Like after they're cooked, toss them in with some rice or whatever grain I have. Love them, love them, love them with oats. There's always chia pudding. That's like the thing out there, I think. Um, um, so yeah, just kind of any way you would add like an additive seed to things. Great in smoothies. Absolutely. Smoothies. Mm-hmm. Yep. Um, yeah, so that's the oats. Our egg bites are almost done.
What did
Let's
you
see, is there,
add? So the oats that you have prepared, they
yes.
look a little more like blueberry-ish, or what did you add
Yep.
to give it that color?
It's as it soaks, the blueberry juice kind of goes out into it and it turns it
Oh,
purple.
yeah, how fun.
Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty, isn't it?
It
Um,
is.
so yeah, just play with it. Like I said, this one is not very sweet, but if you wanted to add any kind of sweetener, absolutely could. Yeah. Um, let's see. Is there anything else that I missed? Um, oh, interesting thing about chia, I just learned actually, it's in the mint family. I didn't know that. It's a seed, it's on a mint plant. And it's been used in Central America since like 3500 BC. So it's been a food for a really long time. Does anybody remember the chia things? What were they called?
Absolutely. Chia pet.
Chia pets, thank you. Or maybe some people here don't remember chia pets, but we definitely had them when I was a kid. And it turns out those sprouts are super nutritious. So if you have a chia pet, use it, but eat the sprouts. They're really, really good. Chia, right, right. Um, just add water and it grows. Yep, that's what happens. Yep. Um, oh, egg bites are ready. Hold on. Cleaned up my glasses. So there they are. That's kind of fun. They just kind of pop out of of the muffin tin. So they're kind of poofy when you just pull them out of the oven because the moisture expands and they're like kind of souffle-y. But as they cool, they squish down a little bit. So there you go.
That looks delicious. When you, Rita, you've mentioned that these egg bites are really good or can be good for meal prep.
Yes.
If I wanted to store those or save them for a few days, any recommendations there? And would just warm them up in the microwave again, or how do you usually do it?
Yep. Yep. So I just put them in a Tupperware. This is what I stick them in something like this in the fridge. And um, yeah, if you don't want to freeze them or you don't need to, just pop them in the microwave to warm them up. Or I often just eat them cold, and they're actually quite good. Um, it sounds kind of strange, but they're fine. Especially if I'm
Yes.
running out the door, grab a couple. There you go. That's
Yeah,
breakfast.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, this was so fun. I know, folks, we've got about 10 minutes left, so please, if you have more questions, certainly do that. And um,
And
Rita,
we
is there
also
anything else
have
you want to?
we also have a vote to go, right?
That's right. Yep, that's right. Exactly where I was going. Let me get
Yeah.
that up on the screen. All right, we've got a raised hand here. Let me push some buttons and get you up on the screen. All right, it should ask you to unmute and then go ahead.
No, well, no, I was just asking a question. Like anybody that suffered with diverticulitis, do you think flaxseed or chia seed would affect or re-inflammate and cause diverticulitis?
That's a great question. Yeah, I would say always clear that with a doctor, right? So if you have a gastroenterologist that you work with, I'd go there first for sure. Um, so Yeah, I would leave that up to the doc. I know there's some questions whether seeds actually bother it or not, but I would leave it up to your doc.
Okay,
Good
great.
question. Mhm. Yeah, in
Thanks for the
general,
question.
a higher fiber diet helps with preventing diverticulitis and diverticulosis, which is there's a lot of pressure in your colon. It pushes the walls out, that forms these little pockets. So in general, a way to prevent it is a higher fiber diet which actually reduces the pressure inside your GI tract, inside the colon. But if you've already got it, definitely talk to your doc and go with what that advice is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rita. I'm going to go ahead and get the votes on the screen. So as part of what we want to do here with these courses and classes is provide things that you want to learn about. So we would love for you to vote on the next month's cooking class items. And then also, after we end the webinar, you'll get a survey either right on your screen or in the follow-up email. And let us know, give us some suggestions or things that you're interested in having Rita teach, and we will be happy to do that. So let me get the share going here. And I think we've also got a poll, but the items that we're voting on, number one, easy homemade chili. Number two is mom's best vegetable soup. And Rita, I understand that's a family recipe, like really it's mom's vegetable soup. That's
It's
fun.
my mom's vegetable soup. Yep.
Yep, that's great. And then number three is chicken sheet pan supper with broccoli and potatoes. So we've got some good answers coming in through the chat, which is fantastic. I think I also set this up to be a poll. I'm going to launch that onto the screen as well. So that should pop up, but don't worry about that if you don't see it. We'll just tally the votes in the chat. What else? I think that I'm going to switch the spotlight out here. Bring me back on screen somewhere.
And I'd also say if you guys have thoughts about what you would like to learn about, please, we just want to know, what's important to you. So let us know, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, looks like we've got a lot of votes. We're almost 50-50 between mom's best vegetable soup and chicken sheet pan supper. So
Wow, it's close. It's
yeah, we
tight.
will.
This is not like the
We'll
Super Bowl.
no, I'll like the Super Bowl. That's right.
All right, make sure
Another
everybody votes.
suggestion. That's right. Another suggestion for making a snack for hypo events. And yes, we'll absolutely get the recipes sent out to you over email as well. So yeah, well, this was terrific. So much fun. Just a quick reminder of some more upcoming events. We're trying to do more and more and more of these. So we're going to have Catherine do a webinar on February 25th, tackling the emotional burden of T1D. And then we've got the regular monthly group session on March 6th. March 10th is our next cooking class, where it's going to either be the vegetable soup or the chicken sheet pan supper. We're going to let some of the folks, let the votes tally in and count those up. And then on the 13th is the monthly group session in Spanish. Then on March 19th, we've got another webinar where Sherry is going to be talking about T1D and exercise. So that's what's on the docket for the next session. So again, as you have ideas and want to see things or hear us talk about things, let us know in the surveys. Another thing I'm working on is finding some external to be BCH expert speakers for a variety of different topics. So that'll launch a whole nother line of monthly webinars that we can do some teaching and engagement with there too. Yeah, and with that, we're at about the end. We do have a few minutes left if there's any other questions or things that people want to share.
So
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Cornbread with chicken, broccoli, and cheese, just like similar to the eggs, pop and go. That's a great idea.
oh, that sounds delicious. Yum. Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank
All
you
right.
guys. I'm so glad that you all came, truly. It's just an honor to be here and doing this. And I guess we'll wait to see what the vote is, what we're gonna make
It's
next.
very close. Yeah,
Okay.
very close, which is fun. It's, that's a great, some great feedback for us right there. So,
Yes, absolutely.
all right. Well, again, we really appreciate you attending and sharing your time with us today. You're learning more about nutrition and food. It's such an important part of living well with diabetes. And you should certainly be proud of yourself for being here. I know we certainly are. Stay tuned for more future events. And keep an eye on your email or text messages for those invites and reminders as those dates get closer. And then finally, just another reminder to please do share your feedback, whether it's in the survey or just reply to the follow-up email that I send out. I'll get those out in the next couple of days. And let us know what recipes you'd like Rita to share with us next.
Chicken
All right.
crust pizza. Okay. All right.
Ooh, that sounds good too.
It's
Yeah, lots of great ideas for sure.
wonderful.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We
Thank you
hope you
all.
enjoyed it. And we certainly did. And we'll see you again next time.
Have a good night.